Welcome to Biopractice webinar on FDA PMA submissions, contents, process, pitfalls. The presenter for today's webinar is Ms. Sheila Rimmerman, RSC. She is the principal consultant and founder of SJR Associates. And now I'd like to hand over to the speaker, Ms. Sheila Rimmerman. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you, attendees, for taking the time out of your busy Fridays to listen into this webinar. Our agenda today is listed here on the second slide, and the webinar providers will be sharing these slides with you, I believe, after the webinar. So you will get a copy of these. These are all of the things that we're going to talk about today. A little bit of the history, when to file a PMA, what are the requirements for pre-amendment devices, because they're a little bit of a special case. And finally, we'll get into the kinds of PMA applications, what is included in each one, how PMAs are reviewed, what happens after you get your PMA approved. Then a few slides on PMA user fees, review times, and review trends. Some pitfalls and common mistakes in PMA submissions, and finally some slides with resources where you can find either additional information or the source documents for the information I've put together for today's webinar. I'm not going to read the definition of a medical device in its entirety. I put it here just for reference in case folks want to have the reminder of what a medical device is. I've bolded what I think is the really important pieces of information, which is it's something that's intended for the use in the diagnosis of a disease or other condition, or in the cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of disease, and which is not dependent upon being metabolized. In other words, it's not a drug. It doesn't have a biological or chemical effect on the body. So anything other than that is a medical device. Medical devices were first regulated under the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938, the FD&C Act, or the Act, which only included prohibitions on adulteration and misbranding of devices. Adulteration meaning they were not manufactured under GMPs, and misbranding meaning that its labeling was not truthful or accurate or was misleading in some way. It did not define what a medical device was. It didn't define any mechanisms for how to get a medical device reviewed, approved, cleared by the FDA to put it on the market legally. That didn't happen until the Medical Device Amendments of 1976. Which finally established the pre-market approval mechanism, or PMA. It recognized already marketed devices, these pre-amendment devices, established device classification and reclassification, established good manufacturing practices, and all of the other things that are listed here. Because in the intervening years, between 1938 and 1976, FDA saw this explosion in medical technology, a lot of which was an outgrowth of the space program from the 50s and 60s. And FDA believed that medical device manufacturers were not exercising the appropriate control or oversight of their products on their own. So FDA stepped in and started asking for oversight over medical devices, and that's where the Medical Device Amendments of 1976 came from. Now we have the Safe Medical Devices Act of 1990, which added a few more requirements. Medical Device Amendments of 1992, which was really a minor piece of legislation, but it did mandate device tracking for certain devices, most of which are Class 3 devices, and revised the definition of certain adverse device events that must be reported, having to do with medical device reporting.